I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who needed saving, but there I was, legs shaking like a newborn deer, barely able to grip my gym bag as I leaned against the locker room wall, trying to remember how breathing worked. That's when Cassian walked over, and everything in my carefully constructed life started to shift. Let me back up. 3 months ago, I joined this gym near my apartment because my doctor said my cholesterol was creeping up and my stress levels were through the roof. I'm a software developer, which means I spend most of my life hunched over a keyboard, surviving on coffee and the occasional protein bar I convince myself counts as a meal. The gym was supposed to be simple. Get in, do my thing, get out. No complications. But then I met him. Cassian. Even his name sounds like something out of a novel, right? He was one of those guys who just existed in the gym like he belonged there, like the weights were extensions of his body. Dark hair that fell just right, even when he was drenched in sweat, these intense green eyes that seemed to see right through whatever front you were putting up, and this way of moving that was both powerful and graceful. I noticed him my first day, obviously. You couldn't not notice him. But I figured he was way out of my league. Just another straight gym bro who probably talked about protein macros and football stats. I kept my head down those first few weeks, did my awkward beginner routine on the machines, tried not to make eye contact with anyone. But Cassian kept appearing in my peripheral vision. He'd be at the squat rack when I was on the leg press. He'd be doing pull-ups when I was attempting to figure out the cable machine. And sometimes, I swear I'd catch him looking at me. Not in a judgmental way, but curious. Assessing. It was week 4 when he first spoke to me. I was struggling with a barbell, trying to do overhead presses with weight that was clearly too heavy for me. My form probably atrocious. I felt his presence before I heard his voice. "Hey man, mind if I offer a tip?" His voice was deeper than I expected. Warm, somehow. I set the bar down, probably too quickly, my face already flushing. "Yeah, sure. I'm pretty new to all this." He smiled, and something in my chest did this weird flutter thing I hadn't felt since high school. "I can tell. You're gonna hurt yourself with that form, though. Here, let me show you." He stepped closer, and I could smell his cologne mixed with clean sweat, and my brain momentarily forgot how to function. "Your grip is too wide, and you're arching your back too much. May I?" He gestured like he wanted to adjust my position. I nodded, not trusting my voice, and he moved behind me, his hands carefully correcting my posture, one hand on my lower back, the other adjusting my elbow. His touch was professional, but I felt it everywhere, like my entire nervous system had suddenly woken up after years of sleep. "There. Feel the difference?" he asked, stepping back. I did a few reps with the corrected form, and it was immediately better. Easier, more controlled. "Wow, yeah, thanks. I'm Cassian, by the way." "Owen," I managed, meeting his eyes for maybe the first time directly, and there was something there, some spark of connection that made my heart rate spike in a way that had nothing to do with the workout. After that, we started talking more. He'd give me tips, spot me occasionally, make conversation between sets. I learned he worked as a physical therapist, that he'd been working out since high school, that he had this dry sense of humor that caught me off guard and made me laugh when I least expected it. I started timing my gym visits to overlap with his, telling myself it was just because his advice was helpful, that I was learning proper form, that it was practical. I didn't let myself think about how my stomach flipped when I saw his car in the parking lot, or how I found myself checking my reflection more carefully before heading to the gym, or how I replayed our conversations later in my apartment, analyzing every word, every smile, every moment of eye contact. I wasn't ready to admit what was happening. I dated women, had a girlfriend in college, convinced myself that the occasional attraction to men was just admiration, just aesthetic appreciation. I'd built this whole life around being normal, fitting in, not causing waves. But Cassian was dismantling that carefully constructed denial, brick by brick, just by existing, just by paying attention to me in a way that felt different from anything I'd experienced before. 2 months in, we'd become what I guess you'd call gym friends. We'd text occasionally, mostly about workout stuff, but sometimes just random things. He'd send me memes about leg day. I'd complain about my code not compiling, and it felt easy in a way my other friendships never quite did. But I kept it in a box in my mind, labeled safe, platonic, normal. I didn't let myself want more, even though I was definitely wanting more. Then came the day everything changed. I'd had a brutal week at work. My project was behind schedule. I'd been pulling 12-hour days, stress-eating garbage food, and I'd barely slept. But I dragged myself to the gym anyway because it had become my escape. My 1 hour where I didn't think about code or deadlines or the weight of expectations. And also, if I'm being honest, because I knew Cassian would be there. He took one look at me when I walked in and frowned. "You look exhausted." "Thanks. Exactly what every guy wants to hear," I said, trying to joke, but my voice came out flat. "I'm serious, Owen. When's the last time you actually slept?" I shrugged, heading toward the weights. "I'll sleep when the project's done." He followed me, and I could feel his concern like a physical thing. "Maybe take it easy today. Light cardio, some stretching." But I was wound too tight. Stress coiled in every muscle, and I needed to push it out. "I'm fine. Just gonna do my regular routine." I wasn't fine. I should have listened to him. But I was stubborn and stupid and trying to prove something. Maybe to myself, maybe to him, I don't even know. I pushed through my sets, ignoring the way my hands were shaking, the way my vision was getting a little fuzzy at the edges. I loaded the leg press with more weight than I should have, determined to hit a new personal record because if I could just accomplish this one thing, maybe I'd feel less like I was failing at everything else. I was 6 reps in when my legs started to give out. I felt the weight start to slip, gravity suddenly becoming very real, and panic flooded through me. Before I could process what was happening, Cassian was there, hands on the platform, helping me guide it back to the safety stops. "That's it, you're done," he said, and his voice had this edge I'd never heard before. Not quite anger, but something intense, protective. He pulled me up from the machine, and I tried to stand, but my legs were rubber, completely gone. I stumbled, and his arm wrapped around my waist, holding me up, and even through the exhaustion and embarrassment, I was acutely aware of his body pressed against mine, supporting my weight. "Easy, I got you," he said quietly, and those 3 words did something to me, cracked something open in my chest. He guided me to a bench, made me sit, grabbed his water bottle, and handed it to me. "Drink." I obeyed, and he crouched in front of me, eye level now, studying my face with an intensity that made me want to look away, but I couldn't. "When did you last eat?" I tried to remember. "Breakfast, I think. Maybe." "Owen." The way he said my name, disappointed and worried, and something else I couldn't quite identify. "You can't do this to yourself. You're going to pass out, or worse, seriously hurt yourself." "I just wanted to push through," I mumbled, feeling about 2 inches tall. "Bad week. I know you've been stressed, but this isn't how you deal with it." He sat beside me on the bench, close enough that our shoulders touched. "Talk to me. What's going on?" And maybe it was the exhaustion or the way his presence made me feel safe or the fact that I was too tired to maintain my walls, but I started talking. I told him about the project, about the pressure, about how I felt like I was constantly falling short of expectations, about the insomnia and the anxiety, and the feeling that if I stopped moving for even a second, everything would collapse. I didn't cry, but it was close, my voice getting rough toward the end. He listened to all of it, didn't interrupt, didn't offer empty platitudes. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment, then said, "You're being too hard on yourself. You know that, right? You're human. You're allowed to struggle. You're allowed to not be perfect." Something about hearing him say that, the gentleness in his voice, made my throat tight. Doesn't feel like I'm allowed to. Well, I'm telling you that you are. He bumped his shoulder against mine, a gesture that felt intimate despite its casualness. Come on, let's get you home. You're in no condition to drive. I wanted to protest, to insist I was fine, but honestly, I wasn't sure I could make it to my car without falling over. What about my car? I'll drive you home in yours, then catch an Uber back. It's not a big deal. We went to the locker room, and I somehow managed to change out of my workout clothes without collapsing, though my hands were still shaking. When I came out, Cassian was waiting with both our bags. He'd showered quickly, his hair still damp, wearing jeans and a plain black t-shirt that fit him in a way that should be illegal. "Ready?" he asked, and I nodded. Walking to the parking lot was an exercise in humiliation. My legs were still weak, and I was trying so hard to walk normally, to not let on how much I was struggling. But Cassian noticed. He always noticed. Without saying anything, he shifted my gym bag to his other shoulder, the one already carrying his own bag, and his now free hand came to rest on my lower back, steadying me, guiding me. That touch. God, that simple touch was setting off fireworks in my nervous system. Every step, his hand stayed there, warm through my t-shirt, and I was hyper-aware of it, of him, of how right it felt to have him close like this. We reached my car, and I fumbled with my keys, nearly dropped them. Cassian caught them, his hand closing over mine, and we both froze for a second, hands touching, eyes meeting, and the air between us felt charged with something I couldn't name, didn't dare name. "I'll drive," he said softly, and I released the keys to him. The drive to my apartment was quiet. I leaned my head against the window, watching the city pass by, acutely aware of him beside me, the way his hands looked on my steering wheel, the way he drove carefully, protectively, like I was something precious he didn't want to damage. My brain was too tired for its usual denial, and thoughts I normally pushed away kept surfacing. Thoughts about how good it felt when he touched me. Thoughts about how I looked forward to seeing him more than anything else in my week. Thoughts about how I wanted to know everything about him, wanted to be close to him in ways that had nothing to do with the gym. "You're quiet," he said, glancing over at me. "Just tired," I answered, which was true, but not the whole truth. "You're always quiet," he said, a slight smile on his face. "But this is different. What are you thinking about?" "You," I thought. "I'm thinking about you, about how you make me feel things I've spent years pretending I don't feel, about how terrified I am of what that means. But I couldn't say that. Just that I'm sorry you had to do this. Take care of me like this." "Owen?" He said my name like a reprimand and a caress all at once. "Stop apologizing. I wanted to. I care about you." A pause, then quieter. "More than you probably realize." My heart stopped. Started again, faster. I turned to look at him, but he was focused on the road, jaw tight, like he'd said more than he meant to. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken things, questions I was afraid to ask, answers I was afraid to hear. We pulled into my apartment complex, and he parked, killed the engine. Neither of us moved for a moment. Then he turned to face me, and the look in his eyes was intense, searching. "Can I ask you something, and will you be honest with me?" My mouth went dry. "Yeah." "Why do you pull away every time we get close? And I don't mean physically. I mean every time we have a real conversation, every time there's a moment between us, you shut down. You put up walls." His voice was gentle but firm. "Why?" I felt exposed, seen in a way that was both terrifying and oddly relieving. "I don't know what you mean." "Yes, you do." He shifted in the seat, body angled toward me. "Owen, I'm trying to figure out if I'm reading this wrong, if I'm seeing something that isn't there, or if you feel it too and you're just scared." My breathing had gone shallow. Feel what? This. He gestured between us. Whatever this is. This connection, this pull. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I'm imagining it. I couldn't. I couldn't tell him that because it would be a lie. And I was so tired of lying. To him, to myself. You're not crazy, I whispered. Something in his expression shifted. Hope and relief and something deeper. Then why do you keep running? Because I'm terrified, I thought. Because admitting this means admitting I've been lying to myself for years. Because wanting you means reconstructing my entire understanding of who I am. Because what if I'm not strong enough to be who I really am? But what I said was, because I don't know how to do this. I haven't let myself. I struggled for words, my hands twisting in my lap. I'm not good at this, at being honest about what I want. What do you want? He asked, and his voice was barely above a whisper, and we were so close in the confined space of the car, and I could see the flecks of gold in his green eyes, could count his breaths. I wanted to kiss him. I wanted to close the small distance between us and find out if his lips were as soft as they looked, if kissing him would feel as earth-shattering as I imagined. I wanted to stop being afraid. I wanted to be brave enough to reach for what I wanted instead of always playing it safe. I started, then lost my nerve, looked away. I should go. You need to get back to your car. I saw disappointment flash across his face before he masked it. Right, yeah. He opened his door, came around to my side, and once again, he was carrying both bags, being careful with me, taking care of me in ways I wasn't used to being taken care of. We walked to my apartment door and I unlocked it, turned to face him. He handed me my bag, and our fingers brushed, and that simple touch felt like lightning. Thanks, I said inadequately, for everything, for driving me home, for stopping me from hurting myself, for caring. Always, he said simply, and the weight of that word hung between us. He looked like he wanted to say more, do more, but was holding himself back, waiting for me to give him some sign that it would be okay. I was standing on a precipice. I could feel it. I could play it safe, say good night, close the door, go back to pretending. Or I could jump, could be honest, could risk everything for the possibility of something real. Cassian, I said, and he looked at me with such open hope it made my chest ache. That thing you asked, about why I pull away. I took a shaky breath. It's because I'm scared. Because I've spent a long time telling myself I'm one thing, and you make me question all of that. You make me want things I didn't think I was allowed to want. He stepped closer, just a small step, but it felt significant. What things? This. You. The words came out rough. Honest. I think about you all the time. I look for you at the gym. I find excuses to text you. And it terrifies me because I don't know how to be this person, the person who wants what I want. Owen. My name was a breath, a prayer. You don't have to be anyone but yourself. And if yourself wants this, wants me, then that's allowed. That's more than allowed. I've never done this before, I admitted. Been with a guy. Let myself even consider it. I know, he said gently. I figured. And there's no pressure, no timeline. But I need you to know that I'm here, that I've been interested in you since the first day I saw you, that every conversation we've had has only made me more sure. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and his hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing my cheekbone, and I leaned into the touch like a plant toward sunlight. I like you, Owen. A lot. And I'm willing to wait, to go slow, to let you figure this out. But I need to know if there's a chance, if this is something you might want too. I covered his hand with mine, holding it against my face. I'm scared I'll mess this up. Then we'll mess it up together, he said with a small smile. But I don't think you will. I think you're braver than you give yourself credit for. And maybe it was his words, or the way he was looking at me like I was something precious, or the fact that I was exhausted and my defenses were down, but I felt brave. For the first time in a long time, I felt brave enough to reach for what I wanted. I leaned forward, closing the distance between us, and kissed him. It was soft, tentative, my lips barely brushing his, a question more than a statement. But he answered, his hand sliding into my hair, his other arm wrapping around my waist, pulling me closer, and the kiss deepened, became something sure and real and absolutely perfect. He tasted like mint and possibility, and kissing him felt like coming home, like finding something I didn't know I'd been searching for. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Okay?" he asked. "More than okay," I managed. "That was... yeah," he laughed softly. "Yeah," he agreed. "So, where does this leave us?" I thought about it, about what I was ready for, what I wanted. "Can we take it slow? Can we figure this out together without rushing?" "We can take it as slow as you need," he promised. "I'm not going anywhere." "Okay, good." I kissed him again, just because I could now, because I was allowed to, because he was real and here and wanted me back. "Do you want to come in? I should probably eat something and you could stay for a bit and we could just talk or watch something or whatever." His smile was brilliant. I'd love that. We went inside and he made me sit on the couch while he raided my kitchen, making grilled cheese sandwiches because that was apparently all I had that qualified as real food. We ate sitting close together, his thigh pressed against mine, and it felt natural, easy, right. We talked about everything and nothing, and at some point, I ended up leaning against him, his arm around my shoulders, and the exhaustion from the day finally caught up with me. I woke up hours later, the room dark, and I was stretched out on the couch with a blanket over me, Cassian gone. For a moment, panic set in, the thought that maybe I dreamed it all, that he'd left and wouldn't come back. But then I saw the note on my coffee table, his handwriting. "Didn't want to wake you. You needed the sleep. Text me when you're up. We'll figure out breakfast. And Owen, thank you for being brave today. It meant everything. C." I read it 3 times, then pressed it to my chest like a teenager with a love letter, smiling so hard my face hurt. I grabbed my phone, saw it was past midnight. Didn't care. I'm up, and thank you. For everything, for seeing me, for waiting, for being patient. I'm still scared, but I think I'm ready to try this, to try us. His response came almost immediately. "I'm ready too. Get some real sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. And Owen? I'm really glad you let me carry your bag to the car today. Best decision I've made in a while." I laughed out loud in my dark apartment, feeling lighter than I had in yours. I fell asleep with my phone in my hand, a smile on my face, and for the first time in forever, I let myself feel hopeful. Hopeful about us, about who I was becoming, about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, I was allowed to want what I wanted, and that the person I wanted might want me just as much. The next morning, I woke up to a text asking if I wanted to get breakfast before work. I said yes immediately. We met at a diner halfway between our places, and seeing him in the morning light, his smile when he spotted me, the way he stood up and pulled me into a hug like it was the most natural thing in the world, I knew I was in trouble. The good kind of trouble. The kind that meant my life was about to change in ways I couldn't predict, but was finally ready to embrace. We sat across from each other, and he reached across the table, laced his fingers through mine, and I didn't pull away. I held on, grounded by his touch, anchored by the certainty in his eyes. "So," he said, grinning, "ready to figure this out together?" I squeezed his hand, felt the solid warmth of him, the reality of this moment. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." And I was. Scared, uncertain, but ready. Ready to be honest about who I was and what I wanted. Ready to let someone see me, all of me, even the parts I'd hidden for so long. Ready to be brave enough to love and be loved in return. It started with him carrying my gym bag to the car, but it became so much more. It became the beginning of me learning to carry myself differently, to stand taller, to reach for what I wanted instead of always playing it safe. And it became the beginning of us, whatever us would look like, and I couldn't wait to find out.